Hey, we've got Adam Cummings here, and Adam, we're going to talk to you for about 10 minutes here, and then as we finish back off. So, if you would, Adam, tell me about yourself, how you came to Punta Gorda, about your family, where you live, how you walk the streets. We see you riding the bicycle with your signs on there, and I've noticed that you walk or bicycle a lot of places. You seem to be living the walkable community idea.
Well, when I first came to Punta Gorda, I was working as a ship's officer, so I could live anywhere, and I picked Punta Gorda. It had always appealed to me, just that it was the right speed, and so came to Punta Gorda, and sometime, I guess 5 or 6 years later, I ended up running for the commission.
Mm-hmm.
Did that for
what year did you come?
I moved here in '88 and got on the commission in '94.
And your career, your ship's officer, was that in the Navy or was that in a private?
No, it was private, merchant ship.
A merchant ship.
Yeah.
Had you been in the Navy?
Only as a reservist.
Okay.
I was a lieutenant in the U.S. Naval Reserve Merchant Marine.
And where all did you go on the ships that you, as you captain and ship's officer?
I've done several transatlantic runs and a South American one. I went to Europe 3 or 4 times. Went to the Middle East, hauled ammunition back from Desert Storm, and then also worked out in the Gulf of Mexico on supply boats and a drill ship also.
Mm-hmm. You seemed pretty interested when I was reading about the tigers there. I mean, and the sharks and the Life of Pi. See many sharks out there?
Actually, the one that stuck in my mind the most was I remember I think we were out in the Sargasso Sea. It was middle of the Atlantic, and a basking shark rode by, which is not frightening at all because they plankton. They don't no real teeth. They're a filter feeder, but they're really large. And it's like, I think they get like 35 feet long or so, and the one came right down the length of the ship, right underneath the bridge wing, and you could see it like looking through glass. It was really a pretty moving sight.
Mm-hmm. See any tigers out there?
No, didn't see any tigers. No, not a one. But there is one out in East County, I know. If you go out to Jim Cawthorn's place, he's got a real tiger out there.
So you showed up in Charlotte County, Punta Gorda, really?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And so you're in Punta. As a matter of fact, where you live now is in the Noble subdivision, which produced Burton Lawless, Harold Boo Boo Weaver, Harold Mack, Mark Christensen. There's just a couple of handfuls of people who really exploded out of Punta Gorda and made something of themselves athletically as well as otherwise out of that area.
Well, Coach Mack is that's who I bought my house from.
Is that right?
Yeah. I live right behind the Punta Gorda Library.
Yeah, there you go. So you're in Punta Gorda. You've been here about 5 years, and you decided that you needed to be a county commissioner.
Did that for 16 years. Loved it. Was an education unlike any I could have imagined. And but then it got to the point that it was time to move on. It was, I guess, a classic case of burnout. And so Terry and I saved up money and started preparing ourselves for a major life change, and have been going through that process up until now.
So you and your wife, you've been married for how long?
Oh, gee, now you're going to get me in trouble. '88 until 2012, 23 in September will be 24 years. 24
years. Children? You have children?
Oh, yeah. My oldest son, Devin, is about to turn 17. He's outweighs me by 35 pounds and has a black belt in Taekwondo. We have to be careful horsing around. He doesn't accidentally put me through a wall, but fortunately he's the kindest, gentlest soul I know.
And those black belts are supposed to know how not to hurt you at the same
time.
Yeah,
and he's very good. He hasn't done it yet, but I'm careful. Okay. And my youngest son, Colin, a very bright fellow, he's in Boy Scouts, and he's just turned 14, and so he's one of those kids that everything comes easy and can do it all well. Now I just got to get him to really apply and develop those God-given skills that he's got.
So did you study martial arts?
No, I wanted that to be Devin's thing. I didn't want to, that was a good confidence builder for him. I wanted that to just be his.
So 16 years as a county commissioner, that means you've been through quite a few elections.
Yeah, and I've been through, well, I don't know, what, I guess, well, I did 4 terms, and since one of them had a primary and a general, that would be 5 elections, plus I helped on a whole slew of other ones besides that.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that experience has given you some really good insight into what the Supervisor of Elections Office is supposed to do and how to treat with and deal with candidates in their campaigns?
It helps some, although a lot of the things that the candidates deal with are where they have to be careful of are really division of elections issues. But there are things that it would be helpful for candidates, like if some of the information that you have on the website, if you could put it into a more graphic map format, it could help new candidates. Us more experienced ones know where we need to go and what we need to do. But trying to even the playing field by making the information more usable to a novice is something that would probably be good for the community all around.
Supervisor of Elections, is that a partisan office?
Yes, it's a partisan office, although truth be told, if there was ever an office that should be nonpartisan, it would be supervisor, and the reason is it's first and foremost a trusteeship. This is the person who administers the elections, makes sure the polls are available, the absentee ballots go out, everybody gets their information in a timely manner. This needs to be somebody who everybody can trust and have faith in, that even if you need a person that even their most ardent opponent feels like, well, this person will play by the rules and make sure everybody gets a fair shake. That's the single most important defining characteristic of a supervisor.
Okay. Well, what is it that supervisors do? If there's a Florida Division of Elections that's job is to interpret the law and provide uniform opinions statewide, give advisory opinions to the county supervisors, and provide training concerning systems and such. What is it that on a day-to-day basis that the Supervisor of Elections does in each county?
Well, first and foremost, they administer the elections. So that's going to be, like I said before, making sure the polling locations are available, so forth, making sure the ballots are counted properly and no mistakes. Their second priority, and the one that's a little more day-to-day, is maintaining the integrity and accuracy of the voter rolls. So they're the ones that are registering people to vote, keeping track of changes that occur to that list, so forth. That's their number 2 priority. They're and running, my opinion, a distant third is being something of a cheerleader for voter turnout. That's a good thing to do, but it's not a critical element of what you do as a supervisor. First and foremost, you make sure the elections are done openly, fairly, effectively, and secondly, you maintain the integrity and the accuracy of the voter rolls. Those are your primary things that you really got to focus on.
This is a constitutional office. You're not beholden to the county commissioners or city council or anybody that you provide service to except for budget process. Is that right, as a supervisor of elections?
Yeah, the commission the supervisor will present a budget to the commission. The commission will either accept it and fund it, or they not. And they will give you whatever revenue they deem appropriate. And of course, other than that, the supervisor has a, it's not really a policy setting position, it's more of a ministerial and administrative one. So you do have a whole host of legal framework that you have to work within, that's going to be handed down from the state.
So we've got the Florida Constitution, we've got the Florida Election Code, chapters 97 through 106. You've got the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, and then the HAVA, the Help America Vote Act of 2002, which sets out the requirements for a Florida voter registration system. And
whatever administrative rules you have to deal with to implement them.
Right. And so within that framework that the supervisor of elections has to administer, it sounds like, particularly if you've got uniform systems and other kinds of things, that there's mandates that come down from the federal and state requirements that takes a lot of the even that kind of discretion about how to operate an office out and how to budget for it.
Well, actually, I ended up feeling the brunt of that as a county commissioner a number of years ago when we had the big to-do with the hanging chads, which never happened in Charlotte County. We didn't have that type of election voting system as what they had over on the East Coast. But I was on the canvassing board during that election, and we didn't have any problems because we had an optical scanning system that doesn't suffer those same issues. We went through, had no problems. The state went through its turmoil and decided they wanted to go to electronic systems. And so we had to scrap the old system and go out and buy, the commission had to fund, a new system that was completely electronic. We went through an election cycle with that, had no problems with that. But then they came up with the issues with wanting to have a paper trail. So they made us scrap that brand new system and go out and buy yet another system that was optical scan, which was essentially the same thing as we had before. Only this time they said, no, we want you to be able to, we want the voter to be able to see their ballot be scanned at the polling location, which meant instead of only having a half a dozen machines in the central office and being able to just have the boxes bring it all in and have a less expensive system that counts it all centrally, now we had to have these scanning machines for all the different polling locations, so the price escalated yet again to go back to essentially the same system we had before. It was very frustrating.
Well, that 2000 presidential election, that drove a lot of interest in voting and voting systems. There's no doubt about that. That was the fourth time in U.S. history that the popular vote did not match the electoral vote. That is, someone who won the popular vote didn't win the electoral college. That was George Bush had 271 electoral votes, and Al Gore had 266. So Florida's 25 would have made all the difference, wouldn't they? And so that was so important. George Bush in that election carried 30 states versus Al Gore's 20, but the popular vote, there was almost 500,000 more for Al Gore than for George Bush, and Gore ended up with 48.4% of the popular vote versus 47.9% for George Bush. And that's not the first time Florida has played an important role in a very, very tight election. Right. One happened back during Reconstruction after the Civil War.
And what happens during those tight elections, that's when people's faith in the unbiased, objective demeanor of their supervisor comes into play. If you have somebody that the participants, the candidates and such, feel is going to play favorites one way or another, then there's all kinds of additional turmoil, questions asked, more lawsuits. If you have somebody there that everybody has faith in, no, this person plays it straight, there's less of those types of problems. It doesn't go away completely, but it helps.
Okay, in just a few sentences, why should people vote for you for supervisor of elections?
Well, I think that I have the reputation in the community as somebody who is not only competent, but has a strong sense of integrity. I'm a bit of a Boy Scout, and I think that people of different parties agree that whether they agree with the conclusions or my policies or whatever, they feel like I'm somebody that can be trusted to give everybody a fair shake, and that's the most important characteristic of a supervisor.
Thank you for being here. Y'all pay attention. Go to get his literature, find him and talk to him. Talk to all the candidates as you're making your decisions. Thank you for being here with me today.
Yep. www.electcummings.com.
There we go.